Thank you. So, areas in um, Rajasthan, uh, areas in Haryana, which all constitute the cow belt, in that, even today, the lower castes will tell you a story. He has given those stories that they tell about how they were originally upper castes, but how they have been made into lower castes by the trickery of the upper castes. I'll just give you one particular example. Uh, he talks about the Chamaars in Bihar. He says the narrative that is given by the Chamaars of Bihar is that there were four brothers, all four of them were from the same caste. They were all Brahmins. Okay, they were all Brahmins. And these four brothers one day were trying to cross the river. I think it is the Yamuna river that they, or was it Ganga? Ganga. They were trying to cross the Ganga. While they were trying to cross the Ganga, they found that a buffalo was also there and it was drowning. For some reason, the buffalo couldn't swim. It was drowning. And three brothers, uh, they went away. They said, what have we got to do with that buffalo? If it's going to drown, let it drown. So they said that and they swam across the river and went to the other end. Now, one brother had compassion. He couldn't see that the buffalo was drowning. So he thought that he'll kind of uh, help the buffalo and not let it drown. But you know, a buffalo like me is a big and very heavy animal. So, despite his best attempts, the best attempts of the fourth brother, the buffalo drowned in the water and died. And the story doesn't end there. Okay, the story goes on because then not only did this man have compassion, this fourth brother, not only did he have compassion, he also had the idea that there should be dignity in death. So, what he did is that he performed the last rites of this particular buffalo. He pulled it out of the water and performed the last rites of this buffalo. Now, because he did that, the other three brothers told him that you are now impure. You have become polluted. And because you have become polluted, you are no longer our equal. You have touched the carcass of a dead animal. Since you touch the carcass of a dead animal, what it basically means is you're an untouchable now. So he says, the fourth brother's story, I mean, this is the story they give these people in Bihar, the Chamaars, who work with animal skins. So to eke out a livelihood, this man was forced to pull the skin off the buffalo, make it into various things like footwear, bags to make a living. And this further reinforced the idea that these people, this uh, the three other brothers said, you are now a proper, complete, untouchable, so you can't even live in the village, you have to live in the outskirts of the village. And the air that flows on you and comes to us, that air will be something which will pollute us. So you don't be downwind, you have to be upwind. Upwind means it will first pass over me and then come to you. So this is the story they gave. This is, I think, after the Mandal Commission also. So you see, there were two things happening at this time. Deepankar Gupta's field work, I've just given you one story. There are a number of narrations like this that Deepankar Gupta does. Very interesting narrations. At a time when people were basically uh, at a time when basically people were what should I say, uh, still telling stories about how they are upper castes politically. Sociologically, they are still telling you how their origins are upper caste. They have been tricked. They're telling you these stories. Politically, you find that people are claiming, I'm backward, I'm backward. And at this point, the Supreme Court of India made an observation. The observation that the Supreme Court of India made is that why is everybody in this country wanting to be backward? Now, the court was mistaken. See, whether it is Mandal Commission or whether it is separate Telangana, any of these are agitations. agitations are not mass movements. Okay? There has been in this country only one mass movement, and that is the freedom struggle under Gandhi. Until Gandhi came, it was not a mass movement. Okay? It was a movement of the intellectuals, the high and mighty, right? Those who sat in comfortable chairs, drank coffee, tea, maybe whiskey, and discussed about how India should be independent. That is how it was until Gandhi. Gandhi made it a mass movement. And if any of you has any doubts about that, I seriously advise you to read the novel Kantapura by Raja Rao. 1 second, please. Extremely sorry about that, and thank you. Uh, if you look at Kantapura, Kantapura is a realistic description of how people waited for Gandhi, how people waited for Gandhi to come to their village. Kantapura is the village. Okay, and if you can't read the book, you can go to YouTube and pull out that episode from Bharat Ek Khoj, which is Bharat Ek Khoj, uh, which is something that Sham Benegal made for television, and he picked up various stories from Indian history. It's broadly based in the kind of idea that Nehru had. He said he was inspired by Nehru's uh, work, which was discovery of India. So Bharat Ek Khoj uh, gave all kinds of these stories. So the Supreme Court, to come back to that, was basically saying, why are people wanting to be backward? Now, Ambedkar himself in 1956, a few months before he died, he regretted the idea of reservations. He said, I thought when reservations will be given, those who take these reservations will basically uh, help their own people up, but they are not doing that. These people are becoming one with the elite. They are not being with their the lower castes who need to be brought up. So Ambedkar in 1956 itself declared that his own reservation policy was a bad policy. Now, you see, everybody is asking for, I want to be in the backward caste, I want to be in a scheduled caste, I want to be in a scheduled tribe. Politically, this is what is happening. Why is this happening? This is happening because people want power. People want power, so they agitate. Like I said, agitations are not mass-based movements. Agitations are few movements. I still remember that episode when the separate Telangana agitation was happening, uh, where 1 million march to the tank bund was organized, and the police were caught off guard completely, and people got onto the tank bund. They uprooted statues, which is a shameful act. They uprooted statues and threw them into the water, and somebody else wrote, somebody else wrote, uh, 1 million were here. What else do you want? In lakhs, how many million is it? I mean, how many
10
lakhs
lakhs.
is 10 lakhs. You're right, 10 lakhs. 10 lakh people coming. And you, first of all, 10 lakhs didn't come. But let's say they came. The population of Hyderabad is 1 crore. What are 10 lakh people? Nothing. Minuscule. It's minuscule. So agitations are not mass-based. So you should, if you look at agitations purely, that is why when I started this course, I told you that you have to do both. You have to do narratives and you have to do theory. You have to do both. Because if you do one, then you get a skewed picture. If you do one of these, you'll get a skewed picture. If you want a most realistic possible picture, then you should study both narrations and you should also theorize or study theory. That is what I had said, and I'm saying this again. So deductions are like this, Rachna Garu.
Yes.
Okay,
All
now
this about deduction and caste.
I gave you the example of caste because everybody understands that.
Conclusion.
Conclusion is simple. Caste doesn't exist at one level. At a sociological level, it has one meaning where people are trying to say we are not inferior. We have been tricked into inferiority. At the political level, people are saying we are inferior, we are backward. Please give us reservations. So that is the deduction. The deduction is at the political level, it is one thing. And at the sociological level, it is another thing. Why is it so? One, at the sociological level, nobody wants to be seen as a backward person, technically. Politically, while you're agitating, it's a mass. Political agitation are faceless masses. So there you can go and say, I'm backward. But in your own this thing, if you're talking to your own friends, if you're talking to people you know, you don't want to be called backward. You want to say, I'm as good as anyone else. So that is how it'll become a deduction. But I've answered only a very small part of your question about deduction. There is also an inductive kind of explanation, which I'll talk about later, not today. Uh, let's get back to, uh, or Akshay, should I do the induction thing also now?
Your wish, sir.
No, 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 no. Your wish is my command. Please tell me. Hmm? Please tell me. Vilas Sham, what should I
So,
do? Hmm?
yeah, your wish, sir.
I am your servant, public servant. Huh? I have to do what you people want me to do. I can't. Let
Yes, sir.
me,
You can go with induction, sir.
yeah, because then she'll get a complete understanding. Otherwise, that'll become half. See, inductive understanding is where you collect data. Okay. Inductive understanding. What was your question, Rachna? What is the difference is
Si-
deduction and
uh,
analysis?
Analysis.
Inductive analysis, actually, I have done it in the example that I have given you. The inductive analysis is that part about, you know,
Story.
people wanting to be, people not wanting to be seen as poor and backward. Okay. I have told you one story, just one story. Okay. And from that, I have drawn a conclusion. I have told you one story, and from that, I have drawn a conclusion that those people who became untouchables, backward, all these people don't want to be called so, while politically they want to be called so. That is inductive reasoning. Okay. So let me uh, give you a very uh, different kind of an example, right? Inductive and deductive. Deduction is more mathematical. Okay. Do you remember the Pythagorean theorem? The square on the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares on the other two sides. That is a hypothesis or a given. Now you have to prove this right. This is a deduction. It's abstract. Where is the triangle? There is no triangle. You're drawing a triangle. But otherwise, there's no triangle anywhere, right? In induction, you can't have that kind of logic. You can't have a logic wherein you say, I'll draw a line. When you're talking about inductive reasoning needs particular things. It needs a particular thing, and only then will it be able to show something. So deductive reasoning is like this. All trees are green in color. Okay. All trees are green in color. This is green in color. So this is a tree. So you started with a generalization, broad. It's broad like this. All trees are green in color. Now, you have said this is a tree and therefore this is green in color. Now you come down to one tree. So what does this demonstrate? From something which is broad to something which is narrow. So somebody might say, I'll give you another example. All crows are black in color. This bird is black in color, so it must be a crow. But you go to, I think it's Papua New Guinea. I'm not very sure of this. Please don't hold it against me if I'm wrong. There are crows which have a white neck. They are not completely black. Okay, if you're a deductivist, you have laid down a rule that in order to be a crow, it has to be black in color. That is the rule you have laid down. If this bird has a white neck, then it is not a crow. That is what you have come again to a narrow conclusion, because it's not all black. Okay, now inductive reasoning will take the opposite route. The opposite route it takes is that it will start with the narrow. This is a crow. Okay, this is a crow, and therefore this is it is black in color. Therefore, all crows are black in color. Particular. This is a crow. It is black in color. Therefore, all crows are black in color. Now, what inductive reasoning allows you to do is when a counter instance is cited, okay, like crows with white necks. When a crow like that is cited, then it adjusts, it readjusts the induction. It will readjust the induction and say all crows need not be black in color. They can have white necks and still be crows. In deductive, because you're starting with something which is hypothetical, because you're starting with something which is purely hypothetical, you will say, if it is not black in color, then it is not a crow. Call it something else. Call it a bro. Okay? So that is deductive and inductive. And both are analytical. Now Rachna is more confused.
No, sir. I'm following you.
You followed me.
Mm.
And Akshay is saying, what is this fellow doing? Crows, trees, green, black, white. Okay. So somebody has left also. Yasmin,
You
I
are
think.
trying to make things easy, but it is becoming difficult, sir.
Yeah. Yasmin will kill you if you don't go now. Okay. Righto. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
sir.
sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Thank you.